In what you would call your spirit of the season, as we recognize it upon your planet, in your culture at this time, specifically, the idea of what you call your Santa Claus. We would like to express the idea of, shall we say, the origin of this idea, and the recognition that there actually, in a sense, and in a certain context, is such a being. In what you would call very ancient recognition of the archetype that exists in your collective consciousness, you will recognize that, as many of your psychologists have begun to understand, an archetypal expression, that is, a representative portion of the collective consciousness of your entire culture, or at least a large portion of it, by no means, in any way, shape, or form, means that it is imaginary, in the sense that it doesn't exist. Archetypes, though in a sense generated by the collective consciousness, do experience autonomy, do know themselves as individuated levels of consciousness, because you are made in the image of the infinite creation, and every thought you have can do nothing but help but create a real reality on some level, in some way. Many of the idea of what you call your nature spirits and other forms of archetypal presentation, mythological beings as such, are in a sense concocted and created by the combined energy of the collective consciousness of your planet, in a sense given life, given breath, given reality, given existence, because they represent a facet or a faction of the collective being that all of you together are. As such, they do, as we have said, have a type of autonomy, a type of individual experience. The idea is that this being that you have come to know in your modern-day language as Santa Claus, in perhaps the older vernacular as Sinterklaas, is really a nature spirit in that sense. And you have, in some senses, I will not mean this necessarily in a negative way, but in some senses distorted some of the original ideas, or shall we say transmuted or translated some of the original energies representative of this being into your modern contexts. In some senses having, shall we say, lost some of the original understanding of what this being was all about, but still to some degree representing the original attributes of this entity. In your understanding of the idea of Santa Claus as a gift giver, this is a more fundamental recognition of the idea of the power of that particular entity, of that nature spirit. And the idea is that it is to some degree representative of the concept of the third law. What you put out is what you get back, the idea of what many of you call the karmic balance, in that, in your modern vernacular, the idea, colloquially put, of not being nice and so getting no presents, or being good and getting favors, is a reflection of the original idea that this was, in a sense, a karmically reflective entity. In other words, it reflected exactly the idea of the energy of any particular entity or individual it encountered. So the idea of negative intention was reflected back as negative experience. Positive intention reflected back as positive experience by this being, by this nature spirit, by this archetypal facet of your collective reality. In many ways, because it is an exemplification of the idea of nature, it expresses, as many ideas of nature spirit do archetypally, many attributes found in nature, in a sense a combination or collection of many attributes found in the idea of the animal kingdom and so forth. So, for example, the idea of what you now have relegated to be the reindeer of Santa Claus is not so much the idea of reindeer pulling a sleigh, but the idea of the association to that particular animal totem, if you will, and also the recognition that the hoof prints left in the snow, in that sense, in many occasions, do not actually belong to the reindeer, but to this entity itself. For it has, in that sense, some of the attributes of the reindeer, including the idea of the hoofs, when it is taking physical form. It does not always exist in the idea of what you would call physical material form. But when it concentrates its energy, or its energy is concentrated by a collective awareness or a collective focus on the part of your people, thus giving it more chance to materialize or crystallize into a sort of solid form in your reality, it does take on the attributes of the idea of nature, including the idea of animalistic attributes from time to time. The idea also is that it exemplifies many other facets and attributes that you have, in that sense, attributed to the idea of Santa Claus. The idea of the red suit, in that sense, is actually the idea of what might be called a cloak of night. But in this sense, the idea of red is that it represents the fundamental lifeblood of the being, and the idea of the vibration of grounded reality and what might be called the root chakra of your energy system. Thus, it is a representation of something very, as you would say, earthy and fundamental in the idea of being rooted into nature, and the representation of the manifestation of gifts and abundance that are all around you in nature. That which was always there for you, always is now, and always shall be. And so on that fundamental level, the idea of the gift-giving idea of nature, represented in this particular archetypal facet or entity. So, do understand that it is actually quite possible, from time to time, when the circumstances warrant it, to actually find yourself interacting in the appropriate state with this actual entity, though you may not recognize it in the way that you have depicted it exactly in your society. You will find that it is actually, shall we say, in a sense, a changeling, a shapeshifter, in that it may present itself in a variety of ways, depending upon, again, what it is reflecting back to you, if and when it is encountered, and also representative in general of the collective, shall we say, spirit or emotional mood of the collective society, whether the whole society or a large group, as it may be occurring at any given moment. So, allow yourself to understand this being does exist, though not always in the way that you may think of it. And in that sense, it is quite possible to encounter this being when you get in touch with the idea of abundance, of nature, in its most fundamental form, in its most well-grounded and earthily rooted form. And when you allow yourself to be out in the idea of the wilderness, from time to time, when conditions are right, this entity can be manifested and can be encountered, just like many other kinds of ideas of spirit contact can manifest and can occur with regard to the natural kingdom of things, as it is representative of that portion of your collective consciousness and a reflection back to you of attributes each and every one of you individually contain.
We have this concept called karma. And
Yes.
So what is karma exactly?
Good question. Shall I answer?
Please.
Thank you. Number one, karma is completely self-imposed. Number two, karma and the concept of reincarnation is again an illusion. It is simultaneous incarnations in parallel realities. Thus, any concept of anything that connects one life to another, such as the concept you call karma, or, if you wish, energy balancing, is simply the product of the idea of, from the present life, you decided to create energetic cross-connections, cross-links to other simultaneously existing parallel realities, because for some reason, based on the theme that you chose to explore in this life, you believe that cross-connecting energetically to those other simultaneous lives and downloading information from them, what you call memories, would serve you in the exploration of the particular theme of this life, just as those other lives are also cross-connecting to you and other lives to download information that they need to explore the themes they chose to explore by being those people in those lives that exist simultaneously with you. So karma is your decision to create a blueprint, in a sense, of connection to other life experiences going on at the same time that you believe are designed to serve the theme of the challenges you wish to explore in this life to allow you to grow as a soul and a spirit. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Does that answer the question sufficiently?
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bashar.
Bashar,
And good day to you.
I'm so excited to talk to you. I want to start by thanking you for all you have done and are doing.
All right, well, we thank you also for the co-creation of these interactions. Speak up.
I want to say how much of a great change my life has been because of learning information that you've passed on. I have two questions. One before I start, I understand if you're not able to answer it. And before I ask the question, I wanted to be clear that as a result of the experience, I've completely grown and changed.
All right, well, thank you for choosing to do that. Because no matter how much information we share with all of you, none of you have to take it to heart. It's up to you to decide what to incorporate within your being, and therefore any change going on is something that you have done. We are happy to provide an opportunity, but you have to make the choice to actually absorb that information, and the change happens because of you, not because of us.
You're amazing, and thank you again.
All right, if you say so.
My experience involves the energy project I was working on back in 2011.
Yes.
I thought that I would involve a friend of mine who's involved in Dr. Stephen Greer's group.
Yes.
So that I could have more people, and when it was completed, I would give it to them, and it would be a way to bring it out to the world.
Oh, all right. And?
Once I put myself on the map with being involved with that team on some incredibly hardcore, you could say, things started happening in the dream state, in the subconscious state.
Guys,
there were these two, I call them the two. They used to come in all the time and do incredibly gruesome, terrible things.
Such as?
I'd rather not go into detail.
Oh, all right.
They're just too terrible.
If you say so.
Worst motion picture movie stuff that you've ever seen,
Yet many people on your planet love going to horror movies.
It's terrible stuff. Maybe when I was a kid, but now I have a different respect.
Oh, all right.
Subconscious.
Very exciting.
Yeah. I learned that there was always a magnetic field associated when they would come in.
Yes. Is there a question here?
The question is, do those two originate? Did they originate from some form of technology on this planet? Were they two people sitting behind some desk somewhere?
No.
Or was this coming from who? What is the
It comes from another dimensional realm that you yourself are in touch with. And in a sense, they are giving you an opportunity to face all the different negative belief systems that are going on within your personality structure so that you can transform them and integrate them in a positive way. Understand that no matter what anyone else's intention is toward you, you always, all of you, have the opportunity to decide that only a positive effect will result for you in your life regarding any experience, because your physical reality is only the product of how you define it. And if you define it in a positive way, you'll only get a positive experience from it, no matter whether someone else has a negative intention toward you or not. That's how it works. That's physics. So get in touch with the fears that they bring up within you so that you can allow yourself to define the definitions that are causing those fears, because all emotion comes from something you believe to be true first. You can't have a feeling without defining something to be true first. Therefore, if you have a feeling of fear, it means you have a definition that is causing the fear. Find out what it is, identify it, and let it go. And then you will find that these experiences can turn around for you in a very positive and constructive way and allow you to become more self-empowered if you use it that way, all right?
Good day, Bashar.
And you good day.
So my extensive time travel hasn't been much, but I would say...
as we said, you are all time traveling all the time. That's what creates the effect called time. So you're all time travelers, whether you know it or not. That's the way you create your physical reality experience.
Gotcha. Maybe I phrased that wrong. The time traveling that I've noticed the most is when I've smoked dimethyltryptamine.
Yes.
Can you speak about how dimethyltryptamine...
And dimethyltryptamine is produced by the pineal gland naturally in your brain and is responsible for your ability to actually perceive other dimensions more clearly. This is why the idea of the dream dimension activates more DMT in your pineal gland when you are sleeping. And those active times of the production of that substance in your brain is generally between what you call your 3 a.m. to 4 a.m. hour. Thus then, most of the interdimensional dreams will occur at that time because you are perceiving into other realities more clearly. Now, of course, you can learn to enhance this in a variety of ways, be it the utilization of the substance itself, or the idea of meditation, or a variety of other techniques, tools, and rituals, which we simply call permission slips. Because all tools, techniques, and rituals and objects are simply permission slips that allow you to give yourself permission to be more of who you are. Once you use a teacher, once you use a guide or a substance to allow you to understand the frequency state, the state of being that is represented by that substance, then in a sense, you actually no longer need the substance because you can simply generate that frequency state, and in acting from that frequency state can have a life that is more representative of that particular resonant level. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And I noticed that, in fact, in my dream states, I only had a limited experiences with the DMT, but since then, my dream states have changed.
Yes.
One such was actually yesterday when I arrived here. I took a little nap, and in my dream, I had a crazy Serbian chiropractor stick something in my face and said, "This will check your age." And
yes.
it blew air in my face, and I woke up gasping. And
yes.
Sort of the odd thing was, I looked at myself in the mirror, and
yes.
I appeared to be younger.
Yes. This is actually what you call a memory of something that has already occurred. It's just that you're now at a place where it's all right for you to remember it, and all right for you to create the effect that goes along with the recognition of that particular interaction. Because time, as we say, while it is a real experience, is still nonetheless mechanically an illusion. And therefore, how you see yourself will be how you define yourself. And if you have now been defined differently by recalling that particular experience, then you will see yourself and perceive yourself differently as well. And so will others.
Thank you.
Greetings, Bashar.
And to you, good day.
My name is Preston Nichols.
If you insist.
Yep. Author of the Montauk Project.
Speak up and be bold.
I got a question. What happened to Tabor? T-A-B-O-R. Can you tune in on that, sir?
That particular nomenclature is not identified in the vocabulary of the channel. Therefore, there is no translation on our side. You see, I'm not speaking your language. I'm simply sending thoughts and using the channel as a translation device. And therefore, if there's no definition in the channel's vocabulary, it doesn't translate on this side. If you can provide a definition, it may be something we can tap into.
Okay, the function is in the supercomputer that runs this reality. It's one of the executive programs. And on the 23rd of March, it disappeared. I can only find fragments of it. Does this give you any more information, sir?
One moment. We perceive that portions of it were shifted to a parallel reality, but portions remained.
Okay, that would fit what I'm seeing.
Does that help you?
Yeah, okay, you're saying I have to look in other parallel realities for the rest of this intelligence.
In that sense, if you shift your vibration to the concept of that intelligence, it may pull you into the parallel reality in which the majority of it exists.
Yeah, because this intelligence has been very important to my work.
Then
And
perhaps
right-
it is, in a sense, luring you like a carrot or a magnet into another frequency.
Okay, I'll have to look into that. Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you.
Hello.
And to you, good day.
I just got my question answered, so I will switch. From where you're at, could you check? I have just worked out the mathematics of universes, and could you check and see how close I'm on it?
Mathematics of universes.
Yes.
Well, first of all, our civilization doesn't necessarily handle mathematics exactly the same way that yours does.
Don't worry, I don't either.
All right. We will give you our understanding of the idea of what you might call the geometry of universes.
You're
if you
right,
wish.
it is geometries.
Yes. Our expression would be what we call the prime radiant. This idea can be explained by analogy by the following illustration. Understanding, of course, that this is simply an analogous illustration.
If you could give me a picture, I'll look at it.
The picture is this. Imagine a completely infinite, empty, black void. Have you got that?
Easy.
Now, imagine a single subatomic particle in the void, and that's all there is.
Okay.
Have you got that?
No problem.
All right. Now, because there is nothing else but this single subatomic particle, no laws apply to it. if it wants to, it can move at infinite speed. Therefore, you will understand that if it can move at infinite speed, it can be anywhere and in fact can be everywhere within the entirety of the infinite void all at once. So if it traces a certain geometric crystalline-like pattern overlapping its own path again and again and again in certain ways, where it overlaps the least will be what you consider to be empty space. Where it overlaps the most will be the densification of matter. But the idea is that this creates all parallel realities, all time frames, all dimensions of experience. This one single particle appears next to itself so quickly, you think it's two particles, you think it's three particles, you think it's 4, 5, 6, a billion, a trillion, a quadrillion particles, but it's all the same particle. Every single one of you, every single one of us, every single star, every single planet, every single chair, every single tree is made of literally not the same kind of particle, literally the same one particle.
Okay. That's
in the ultimate time-sharing event.
Okay. Because you don't have to share time.
Hello, Bashar. I would like to get more explanation out of you about the mind-body relationship. You've said that the mind exists within the body within the soul. Right. But that's pretty vague. I think. Like, when you say mind, does that include the higher mind, or is it just the physical mind? And as a healer, like, my experiences definitely would agree with the idea of the mind existing with, like, the physical mind existing within the body. That much seems very clear. But logically, I still grapple with that one because our physical health is so impacted by the beliefs and definitions that we have in our mind. So it would appear that the body is subject to the mind, even though I know that can't be, that the mind has to be subject to the body. And I would love some great examples, or at least one good example of how the mind is subject to the body. That would be helpful. Please comment. Thank you very much.
All right. Well, in some cases, you're accurate, and in some, you're sort of mixing your metaphors. But to start simply, often, in most cases, when we say body, mind, and spirit, the spirit part is what represents the higher mind in that definition or in that example. Although we understand that spirit can be a different thing, although it still includes the higher mind. So the idea is that, yes, your body can be conditioned by the mind, and the mind can be conditioned by the body in a sort of cyclic feedback loop. What you believe yourself to be, what you think of yourself as, can have an effect on how the body behaves. And how the body behaves can reinforce or have an effect on who you think you are, or what you believe about yourself to be true. So that kind of works in tandem with one another. The idea is that the higher mind is above and beyond the idea of the physical mind. Physical mind is simply that which allows you to have a physical experience expressed as the idea of a physical body, because that's just a projection of consciousness, as all physical reality is. So the body is, in a sense, the spirit projecting a portion of itself in a certain way that experiences itself as a physical being. And in order to experience oneself as a physical being, you have to have an organizational pattern of energy within that physical being that represents the physical mind, so it can be aware consciously of the experience it is having. The soul, as we have said, is sort of like unfired clay. The spirit is the ceramic that is the fired clay that represents the particular specific experience you're having as a particular physical identity, and therefore is contained within the oversoul and the soul ultimately. But the higher mind is a splitting of the soul into the non-physical guiding higher mind and the physical mind having the physical experience. Once the physical mind exists, then the body is subject to the belief systems in the physical mind. And again, the body can reinforce those particular physical beliefs within the physical mind. We do not know if this is a clear enough explanation for you since we're not interacting with you. But generally speaking, you have the oversoul, the soul, splitting itself into the non-physical higher mind, then the physical mind, which then can have an experience of creating the spirit that is then once again taking that specific physical life experience and incorporating it back into the soul's experience and feeding that back into the oversoul's experience, which feeds it back into all that is.
Hello, Bashar.
And to you, good day.
So nice to connect with you again. Thank you so much for this wonderful opportunity.
It is our passion and our pleasure. Please speak up.
Sure. I also want to thank you for that monologue. My heart is definitely racing after listening to that.
Oh, all right.
I had some questions for you that are a little off topic, if that's okay.
All right. That's all right.
So the first question actually had two parts to it, and it mainly has to do with state of being.
Yeah.
Lately, I've been feeling that I'm able to embody that frequency, that energy of my future desired self, who in this case is a rap star. That's one of my biggest dreams is to be a successful rap star one day.
All right. Now, one moment. Let me stop you.
Sure.
If rap is your passion, don't add all sorts of insistences or conditions on how that needs to express yourself when you use the word successful.
Okay.
Because the meaning you may be giving that may not be, it may be, but it may not be the meaning that actually serves you. So you are successful when you are simply expressing your passion in any way, shape, or form. Don't necessarily limit it by putting conditions on what you think being a successful rap star looks like for you. Watch your insistences.
So I'm really glad you said that. Is that maybe my negative ego coming into play, thinking that
it's mostly your training. It's mostly your training saying, well, this is the only way that can actually look. Just relax that definition and be open to the idea that there may be other ways in which that can be represented as successful. You don't know.
Just because I can't imagine it doesn't mean it's not, there's not some higher, maybe reality.
You use what you can imagine. You use what representation you do have as a way of getting you excited, but you drop that particular representation and stay in the state of being to allow the higher mind to bring you the way that actually works best for you. And it might be what you envision, but it might not be. So don't limit it by insisting on the particular way in which you've been taught to think. Just use it to your advantage to get you excited, but don't insist on that picture because it could happen some other way that could be many times better.
Yeah. Well, again, I'm really glad you said that. It feels like I've heard you say in the past it's about state of being.
Yes.
And it seems like I keep making my goal or my state of being conditional on
on having it to look like a certain thing in order for you to determine that you have been successful. Let me put it to you this way through an example.
Okay.
Let's just say all of a sudden synchronicity, and I'm not saying this is going to happen, I'm just opening your mind up a little bit.
Sure.
Let's say synchronicity suddenly brings you an opportunity to arrive at a children's hospital. And in that children's hospital, you do your rap for those children to allow them to feel more excited, more healthy, more uplifted. Now, what if that's all it turns out to be? Would you not know that you would still be getting absolute joy out of that, even though it's not traditionally what many people would think of as a traditional music career?
Right.
So,
no, I absolutely, yeah.
All right. So allow for different ways in which you could be of service by expressing your joy and your passion and your gift. I'm not, again, saying it has to limit itself to any one way. You may be doing it 12 different ways. But the idea is that if you only insist that one way is the way, you will never experience the idea of the 11 other ways it could also be.
That's deep, Bashar. I'm really glad follow-up questions that is like irrelevant now, but I'm trying to process what you just said.
Oh, it's not that difficult. You understand the concept that I'm telling you.
Yeah, I think it comes down to this fear that I have. Actually, I have a couple fears, but one is that, I'm going to follow the formula, act on my passion, make music, and then I'm going to be 40 years old one day, living under a bridge or something. And
well, that's extremely interesting that you would pick that kind of a scenario as the logical outcome of following your passion, which means you have a completely contradictory definition of what your passion is all about. Because you're saying, if I follow my passion, something that's not representative of my passion might happen. That's an absolute impossibility. Or even if it did happen physically that way, it would actually be representative of your passion and you wouldn't mind it. So the idea is to trust that the state of being will express itself through any outcome that is truly representative of your passion, no matter how it looks. What if living under a bridge for a day, a week, or a year actually improved your ability to deliver your rap songs, because now you've experienced a slice of life that allows you to go deeper in the content that you will share with other people? Would that not be part of your passion?
I'm definitely starting to see what you're getting at.
All right.
Very, very enlightening. Yeah, I guess, and then it goes to another fear that I have of actually making it, big one day, and then it feels like,
yes, you can't handle it.
Yeah, maybe just like every move I make would be under a microscope, and then
so what? So what?
Yeah.
So what? That's your mantra. So what? Because again, if you understand that you are truly in alignment with your passion, whatever it is that happens is going to be an expression of that and will actually feel correct. Now, if it doesn't feel correct, that gives you the opportunity to examine the fear-based beliefs within you to make sure you actually are following your passion, because maybe you took another course that really wasn't representative of it, and the feeling is guiding you back into the true path for you. Or again, it gives you the opportunity to let go of that fear-based belief so that you can truly feel where you are as being representative of the outcome of your passion.
I feel like on either case of either of those fears, those two extremes, the underlying fear is just embarrassment or maybe like feeling humiliated or something, making a mistake. So definitely something to...
All right, but if you make a mistake, isn't that something you can learn from and do differently next time?
Right, especially if I define it in the most positive light possible.
Exactly. How you experience anything is how you define it.
Nice.
So I'm not saying you suddenly recognize negative things as positive things. I'm saying you recognize that even when something is generated by a negative experience, you can still get a positive experience from it if you stay in a positive state. Remember, that is one of the stages of the formula. You stay in a positive state no matter what happens, so you can get the benefit out of it.
Right.
Otherwise, you'll only experience the negative side of it by defining it in a negative way. Oh, this shouldn't have happened. I did something wrong. This doesn't belong in my life. I'm not capable. I'm not good enough. I'm not worthy, blah, blah, blah.
And then
if that's what you prefer, then that's what you'll get.
Right. Awesome. So glad you said that, Bashar. Thank you so much for your time.
It is our passion and our pleasure.
Really appreciate it. Till next time.
Good day.
Good day.
Hi, Bashar. This is Karen again. I've got another question for you, and it is about cats once more. So, you told me in a previous conversation that cats do not reincarnate, but there is something peculiar about my cats. They seem to be connected to one another. Now, my cats are not cats. They truly guide me. They truly help me. They're just magical. And I was wondering, do animals, and then especially cats, have an oversoul, just as we humans have? And the cats that truly take on this mission, maybe, to guide humans, do they come from the same oversoul? Thank you for broadening up my perspective on this. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Yes, cats can have an oversoul. Now, when we said cats don't reincarnate, we say it in the same way that we say nothing actually does, because everything exists all at the same time, and reincarnation is an illusion from the physical perspective. You can create a sensation in physical reality, a perspective from physical reality that one life happens after another, but the idea is that it's simply a connection to things that exist at the same time and share similar frequencies so that you make that connection and think it's the same being over and over again when it's not. Different extensions of the same oversoul happening from the oversoul's perspective at the same time can play out in linear time-based physical reality as if they're in different times, all connecting back to the same oversoul. So reincarnation is the experience you can have from the physical perspective, but mechanically speaking, there's no such thing for humans, animals, or anything else, because everything exists all at the same time, and you make energetic connections to all these other things to create a linear continuity between them that makes it seem as if reincarnation is the mechanism, when all it is the experience from a particular perspective. But yes, there can be similar vibrations in cats that will be necessary to work with different humans in different ways or other beings in different ways. That creates a continuity that human may need to experience in order to understand what's going on as the lesson being reflected.
Hi, Bashar.
Good day, good day.
I'm Rem from Sarasota, Florida. How are you doing today?
Perfect, and you?
Good. I'm really good.
All right.
Recently, I've been excited about exploring the Taoist permission slip called Nea Kung and how it relates to the concepts you share with us.
All right. Is it working for you?
One more time.
Is it working for you?
Yes. I'm asking some really interesting questions, I think.
All right.
Practitioners of Nea Kung store energy in the Dantian, or the subnavel. Taoist practitioners theorize that is an optimal place to store energy because of some of the first cells created in conception.
All right.
I was curious why it seems like energy is stored in some places of the body more than others. It seems like the body is entirely comprised of energy, so wouldn't any part of it be receptive?
You can use it that way, but again, because you are experiencing a physical reality and have agreed to abide by the conditions and so-called rules of physical reality and processes that exist in physical reality, you can also diversify and look at things in ways that compartmentalize things that may be a way that works better for some people than others. So you can say, well, because this is the first cell created, I'm going to focus on that as having the ability to store a particular kind of energy for my purposes. So it's really all workable. You can look at it any way you want, but if you've gravitated to some particular perspective like that, there may be a reason for it. And it could be the reason that that is the perspective that will work for you. Or it could be the reason that gets you to ask the question, can't it be done in any part of the body? So you have to determine which answer is true for you with your investigation.
I was also curious about how this relates to, because it seemed to me that it would just be automatic by following the formula.
Yes, it is.
Types of energy.
It is.
How does it mechanically, how does that look?
How does what look? Following the formula?
No. I mean, when does energy get involved in the formula? What is happening with energy in the formula?
Your energy overall is raising its frequency so that you can become a more sensitive receiver and an antenna to higher frequency information from the higher mind, from spirit, from other dimensional beings that can help guide you in figuring out what techniques, what permission slips work best for you.
Okay. And so there's another thing too, like the idea that where attention goes, chi flows, and attention is the first primary factor, and then chi is a secondary factor.
Yes, well, the idea is exactly the same thing as acting on your passion. That's your focus. And when you act on your passion, all the energy of your being goes into becoming the driving engine, the organizing principle, the path of least resistance. That's the same thing in different terms.
Oh, okay. And is intention related to attention?
When you follow your passion, where else would your attention be?
But I mean, intention.
Where else would your intention be? If you're following your passion, you simply don't have an intention to do anything else at that moment. That's what we mean by it becomes the driving engine.
How do you discern intention from expectation?
Expectation in its negative sense is insistence.
Okay. So intention is just positive expectation.
Intention is just it's just the way you focus your energy by following your passion. Yes.
Okay.
Does that help?
Yes, absolutely.
All right.
My last question is, what happens when we get goosebumps? Let's say we hear a meaningful speech or there's a change in music. What causes goosebumps for us in that way?
You are aligning with the frequency and all of your little antennas perk up.
Oh, okay. Okay, thank you. That's all.
You are very welcome. Have a good day.
You also.
Energy has frequency to it. A simple example is what you call your visible spectrum of light, yes? You know it's all the same kind of electromagnetic energy, but you know that red is a different frequency, a different vibrational rate than blue, which is a higher vibrational rate. Yes?
Yes.
So when you allow yourself to align with your truth, your passion, your creativity, your love, you are allowing yourself to upgrade and accelerate, raise up your frequency. And by raising up your frequency, it makes you more sensitive as a receiver, in a sense, as an antenna, to pick up on even higher frequencies above and beyond your reality. Your senses expand. You start being able to perceive the structure of existence. You start being able to understand that you have a direct connection to source. You start being able to actually experience it in that way. You start being able to realize that you are already being given everything you can possibly be given. You don't necessarily have to ask for more. It's that you just have to pay more attention to what you're already getting. And raising your frequency makes you a more sensitive receiver to be able to pay more attention to what you're already being given that helps you. You're just making yourself basically more sensitive to receive higher energy information by matching that level, by matching that frequency. Remember, the principle is you cannot perceive what you are not the vibration of. So when you are vibrating at a certain rate, at a certain frequency, you can't perceive the things that are vibrating like this. You have to raise your frequency and become matched to that frequency like two tuning forks to be able to receive and understand and translate and process that vibration and all the information and all the experience that is relevant to that vibration. If you're down at this level on this vibration scale, you can't really have any experiences that are representative of a different vibrational level.
I guess the second part of my question would be to raise my vibration.
That's the formula that we've given you all. Yes? You act on your highest passion because passion is the translation in your body of your true frequency. Okay. You do it to the best you are able, and you do it with absolutely no insistence and no assumption, thinking that you know what the outcome is supposed to be of acting on that passion because your physical mind really has no idea. And if you insist on knowing what that outcome should be and put those kinds of restrictions on it, your higher mind and creation cannot necessarily then give you what could actually be much better than you have imagined. So you have to really trust the synchronicity and the higher self to deliver to you, when you're in the correct vibration of passion, all the things you truly need at that moment. Your physical mind is only designed to understand and experience what's happening, what's going on right now at this moment, and take that experience in. Your physical mind is not designed to really know what's going to happen. but higher intelligence does. And therefore it guides you and says, follow your passion. That's the compass needle pointing to your true north. That's the compass needle that allows you to align with your true self and your true path in life. Follow the passion, follow the love, follow the excitement, follow the curiosity, follow the creativity. That's what you are. That's who you are. And then you know your path will be unerring. It will be the path of least resistance, the path of joy. You will experience less struggle and strife. It's just the way it works. You're going with the flow of your current. You're not swimming upstream. You're not resisting it. Does that make sense?
Yes, yes, yes.
So that's the formula. Act on your highest passion to the best you can at every moment. Do it as much as you can, as far as you can take it, until you can take it no further. Then act on the next most exciting thing. And then do that with absolutely no insistence, no assumption as to what the outcome ought to be, and see what happens. And then whatever happens, remain in a positive state. Even if something manifests that you don't initially prefer, you have to know it's there for a reason. There are no accidents. It's there for a reason. Learn to stay in a positive state, and then you can use what you don't prefer in a way that you do prefer and get the benefit from it. But you have to know that whatever you are given is what you need at that moment. Because sometimes you will test yourself. Maybe something will manifest that you don't prefer, and maybe you will find yourself reacting in the same old way with the same old fear-based beliefs and say, oh, why did that happen? Something must be wrong. Something's off. I will judge myself. I must have done something wrong. That is what exactly makes that state stick and stay there and get you in a loop of negativity. But if you suddenly realize, all right, I recognize objectively that I don't prefer this, but I know it's got to be there for a reason that serves me. I just know that. Then you will be able to extract the benefit. You will see eventually why it happened in that way, if for nothing else again, that you tested yourself to make sure that you're not making your happiness conditional on what happens outside. You are making your happiness conditional only on what you decide is true for you.